Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour.
Who are you?
Daddy.
God damn it. Oh, look who decided to show up.
Some have called me Frank, as in Frank Castle.
No one's called you that.
If the skull fits.
I don't care what goddamn Hot Topic shirt you bought. No one's calling it.
That's not even a store anymore, is it?
Yeah, it's still around.
You would know.
Yeah, it's like Funko Pop Central.
Yeah, exactly, you would know.
I don't know.
You know who wouldn't know?
Who?
Frank Castle.
I just walked into that. I think I have some pinball games to do. I'll be back. You do this.
Yeah, we need to talk about that continuing smell that dick suck attitude off your breath.
God damn it.
Just.
By the way, my one coworker is using that now, so thanks.
Well,
wow, you got a real dick suck attitude that you get on there, Jim.
Well, when you got it, Jim.
I guess I do have it. So.
You know who doesn't have that?
I know who. I'm not saying it.
I'm going to give you a hint.
And you know what? He kind of has like a perpetual dick suck attitude. He's never in like a happy mood.
Frank Castle.
He's never exactly like, sociable kind of chap.
But you.
Little off.
But you're the same way.
That's a good point. Maybe I'm the real Punisher.
More like Blubbisher. See, I took Blub.
I wonder. It's been a while since we had Blub on the channel. I wonder who that's going to pull out of the woodwork.
I don't know. You got a few fans, Jim.
Oh, I know. Very aware.
All right, so I'll just say Jim was kind enough. Well, his buddy was kind enough to get him some cans, and he brought us.
No, I actually bought these
From. I thought you said Jerry bought them and you got them off.
No, I saw him buy them the first time from this local
Gotcha.
beer store, and then I went back and I got lucky one night because I was like, "Hey, do you have Heady Topper in?" And they're like, "We just got a shipment." So I was like, "All right, I'll take a 4-pack."
And for anybody who drinks beer, this is arguably one of the most famous and well-known, especially if you're in the Northeast.
East Coast, really.
Yeah.
Like for East Coast, like craft beer people, like this and Cigar City are like the top notch, basically.
Yeah, I mean, this is based from Vermont. We've had a few beers on this channel that were supposed to be Heady Topper clones, more specifically talking about the Neshaminy Creek Dank Hill, I believe it's called. That was supposed to be their clone to this. So neither of us have ever tried it. Really excited. So I'll let Jim do his little shtick with the... oh, Christ, it's a lot to read.
Well. me. All right.
Get that dick suck attitude.
I knew that was coming. Anyway.
Phlegm.
Heady Topper is an American double Indian pale ale. This beer is not intended to be the biggest or the most bitter. It's meant to give you wave after wave of hoppy goodness on your palate. Tremendous amounts of American hops will creep up on you and leave you with a dense hoppy finish in your mouth. So drinkable, it's scary. Sometimes I wish I could crawl right into the can. Freshness and control have always been my main concern when it comes to our beer. We are committed to providing you with an unfiltered and unpasteurized hop experience. Why do I recommend that you drink it from the can? Oops. Quite simply, to ensure a delightful hop experience. We do have one more, so I guess we can do it right after this.
I saved half in this can.
Well, damn it. So, the act of pouring in a glass smells nice, but it releases the essential hop aromas that we have worked so hard to retain. If you must pour into a glass, you may find that some of the hop resins have settled to the bottom. Leave them in the can when pouring. This beer is perishable and at its best when young, fresh, and hazy. Keep it cold, but not ice cold. Drink this beer immediately. We are always making more. John Kimmick, The Alchemist, Waterbury, Vermont. Don't be a D-bag. Recycle this can. I already kind of hate them now.
You know, I kind of wanted to stump this out. You read
Had to throw that in there.
It was a combo of your voice and the fact that they wrote it that way.
I'm pretty sure I was accurately doing the inflection that he was having as he wrote it.
That's what worries me. And that at the bottom, don't be a D-bag, recycle this can. You're so hip, man.
Beer better be worth it, goddammit.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. It comes in at a respectable 8% alcohol by volume. And no IBUs on here, so
it's pretty good.
Let's give it a go. Sniffy, sniff, sniff.
I'm not going to lie. It's actually got an oddly...
It kind of smells like weed.
I was going to say, it actually has like almost a wood burning...
It's weed piney.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
Vermont,
well,
it
down the hatch.
it's probably. Get out here, dogs.
Yeah, you may be hearing dogs right now.
Yeah, our crazy ass dogs are running around us. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough to say. I took it from the
It's
can.
got a really piney aftertaste.
From the can, it's extra. So
Really?
still don't like that write up. And John, don't be so snarky. Frank don't like it.
I bet he gets along with everybody at Stone Brewing really well.
He probably would. All right.
Oh, Jesus God.
Let me get these goddamn dogs that way. Come on. Come on. Read the next topic.
Wouldn't be us if it wasn't like this. So, the first topic, coming back to a regular episode of the Power Hour, is going to be from our buddy Kitt. And it is 3 beers that we would recommend for new craft beer drinkers.
So, I thought about this one, and much like us, we're always going to pull our personal references.
Yep.
So, one I can say off the bat, if you want to get people a strong beer, has good flavor, Golden Monkey.
Yeah, Golden Monkey's a good one.
That's always...
And here's, I remember when I was first starting to drink with Golden Monkey, the first one I had from Victory was Hop Devil. And if you're not used to alcohol like that, that just floors you. So it's almost undrinkable if you're not used to craft beer. But Golden Monkey, after that, by comparison, was crazy smooth. And even now, it's still an awesome beer.
Amazing beer. I can't remember if it's 9 or 10%.
It's got a lot.
But it sneaks up on you really fast.
Yes.
So after 1 or 2 bottles, you're going to get through it. Holy shit, it's so strong, but I don't feel it. And then you get to that third, and you're on the floor. You're not feeling so good. So that's an easy go-to.
I'd say Mad Elf.
Mad Elf, only issue is with Mad Elf, and I hate to be that guy, but it is true.
Don't you do it.
The current batches don't taste as good as they used to. And I've gotten a new bottle recently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it overly cherry? It's almost cough medicine-y, whereas the old ones I remember feeling a little more boozy, a little more honey. Everyone says it, and I always try and defend it. They're more popular, but I drank it, and I was like, man, this is not the same as when we used to.
I'll have to drink a new batch because even as recently as last year, maybe a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
for people who never had it before, we were out at Miller's Ale House,
Yeah.
and I was like, everyone, we're getting a round of Mad Elf. And they're like, oh, I've never had it. I'm like,
Yeah.
just drink it.
It is
and they loved
yeah,
it. We drank it the whole night.
It is a delicious beer, regardless. I'm just saying, because of my bias of, man, the first time I tried that, I was like, holy shit, this is a Christmas, this is winter. Just like pumpkin beers would bring in Halloween season, Mad Elf was always that, all right, well, it's close to Christmas, I got my lights up, I got my shit done, let me have a glass. Or if you get together with your friends and you're having your ugly sweater party, that's always a go-to. But it still can be just, I feel bad for new people.
Yeah, especially with that new label.
So one that, man, I always call it the gateway beer. Two of them, I would say. And I don't know if you consider it craft or not. We've talked about this. Guinness is always a easy, if you're tired of lagers.
I know the other one you're going to say, too.
Leinenkugel.
I was going to say Blue Moon.
Yeah, I interchange Blue Moon and Leinenkugel, even though technically...
Blue Moon, I know it's owned by Coors.
And so is Leinenkugel. It's
Did they get bought out, or is they actually...
They're similar to a topic we're going to hit on with Pabst, which is they are indie, but they are distributed by a bigger company.
Nah.
And I don't want to say the wrong one, but those are two, they break the mold of, you can have kind of citrus and fruit flavor in a beer and, not be completely ragged on by your friends, although if you get the orange slice, you probably will. So, those would be some easy ones, but I'm trying to think of a good beer I'm trying to think of an IPA. What's the IPA? Nothing's going to sell anyone that's non-craft.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go, an easier IPA... Oh, no, that's not an IPA. I was going to say Dreamweaver, but that's not an IPA.
Honestly...
you know what? IPAs aren't the gateway.
No. I'm not saying they are. I'm saying the gateway to starting IPAs. I'm going down, okay, you've tried other craft beers now. Like, usually it's easier to go to a stout or a wheat beer or something that's...
Yeah, like a wheat or a Hefeweizen or shit like that.
I'm going to use my bias again. The Yingling IPA is one of the lighter ones.
Yeah.
And you could drink it. But yeah, no, I think if you try any of those beers, stouts are always an easy transition point because they have just such a unique flavor that if you're not in the craft, like, you can appreciate what a beer can be when having a stout. Whereas,
and you can have a really high alcohol stout without it tasting like
crazy boozy.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are some good ones. Kitt, thank you as always. We appreciate that. But I'm sure we could probably think of other ones after this, and we'll post some shit on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now we're going to move on to our first article. And this one may have some people sad, but
I think this goddamn article is cursed because this is our third goddamn time trying to do this friggin' thing.
So PBR, also known as Pabst Blue Ribbon, also known as a beer that gives Jim bloody shits.
It's not wrong every single time.
May be going away forever because their contract with Miller Coors, which has been in place since the 70s to distribute and manufacture, they're basically saying they're not profitable no more. And PBR is going to be trying to sue them in an attempt to say, you're just trying to push us out. However, the little crux of information they're leaving out or not mentioning is they have the right to continue manufacturing themselves or go to another major brewer to handle their capacity. So it sucks on one hand because I feel bad for people. I know this is a cheap beer, even though it's the hipster beer.
It's the cheap go-to beer, though.
Yeah.
Like, you go to bars, and that's still the beer that you can spend $2 and get a beer.
And I feel, and like you said, especially, we're from the city, so we have all the options in the world. But if you are maybe in the Midwest or whatever, that might be your favorite beer. And if for some reason it stops, kind of sucks.
I know some old guys who legitimately love Pabst, so...
You would know some old guys.
Yes?
Dick suck attitude thing. But no, it's one of those... neither of us are huge Pabst fans. It's fine.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
More flavorful Keystone, basically. And you can't deny that.
Yeah, it's got more flavor.
So, yeah, I think Pabst is making too big of a deal without knowing their financial, how they've done over the past 30, 40 years as far as making money on their own to be able to start manufacturing. But maybe go back to being more small scale like you are.
Yeah, or like I was saying a half hour ago before we lost him, five goddamn times, try and latch on to another brewer, like we said. And I think they should actually go for one of the bigger craft brewers.
Yeah, Stone, where are you at?
Yeah, what's up, Stone? You want to help the little guy out? Why don't you help Pabst?
Pabst will be too big for them, Jim.
Yeah, probably.
Too corporate.
But seriously, though, like, for anyone with a wide distribution network, like, say, a Stone, it would make sense to have a cheaper option and to say Pabst Blue Ribbon as subsidiary of Stone. That only builds up your brand more with the young web designers of the world and shit. I don't know who goes to these bars. I'm old.
Jim, would you say
I don't leave the house if I don't have to.
Would you say their stock went up when it drank so much in Gran Torino?
It probably helped, actually. Man, it's a fine movie.
So that we think it sucks. It's manageable.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's getting kicked in the dick because it's like, oh, a big part of our business that we've had for going on 50 years is going bye-bye. So it's like if we got lost our channel, Brian, and we had to say bye to our just hit 4,000 subs. So,
I mean,
what would we do then?
I know what I do, but I'm Frank Castle, so I would adapt, improvise, and roll with it. That's just me. I don't know what you would do.
God, I hope the Frank Castle bit got deleted. I can only hope.
Oh, it didn't.
God.
It's getting in there.
Can't have one thing tonight.
So, let us know what you think. If you are Pabst fans or you think it's a shitty thing that...
Are you a Pabst fan ironically or unironically?
Don't be an ironic fan of anything, a.k.a. all the current WWE fans.
It's rough times. It is some rough titties out there.
All right, so enough with that bullshit. So we can move on.
Finally.
So this one sucks a dick. PlayStation users in Chicago got a new amusement tax. And this is from fee.org. Once again, articles below. So Chicago, I don't know if you noticed, Jim, they're really fucking their people good.
Well, I mean, it's bad enough you're the gun violence capital of the country. You might as well throw a little extra tax on your escape from reality. That's nice.
So essentially,
before we go into this, we know a thing or two about being from cities with corrupt governments. We're Philly boys, so we know, we get it. We have this goddamn sugar tax now.
Yeah, but here's the deal. So, like most big cities, Chicago is facing something like a $500 million deficit. They had the bright idea, however many years ago, to say, you know what, like these streaming services and some of these, Netflix and whatever, we might be able to have a tax called amusement tax, and it's approximately 9%. Now,
oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
Now, so your services like Netflix, Hulu, all those were already being taxed for a while. Apparently, Xbox and Nintendo caved a while ago. Sony's been fighting it back for a while, but due to a ruling recently, they've had to give the prompt that when you turn your PlayStation, you're now notified that you have to adhere to this. The only company right now that's still fighting it, and I'm actually pretty impressed with it, is Apple. They're saying, fuck you guys, like, no, we're not imposing that on our people. Don't know how long they can do it or will. I just feel bad. Because,
well, Apple has the money, so for as long as it's good PR, they're going to do it.
And that's what I mean is I wish Sony, and I know it's probably a huge market, I assume. It's
a major city.
One of the top 10 cities in the U.S. easily.
I think, something like that,
just population and probably purchasing. So you look at that alone, yeah, of course you're not going to be like, go the moral high ground and just say, well, fuck it, we're not going to distribute, because then people are getting fucked either way.
Right.
But it's kind of like, the most interesting thing is in the article, Clinton basically enacted a rule that, and I forget it off the top of my head, and I'm scared to click it because it might crash my goddamn computer, apparently.
Don't.
But essentially, it was to stop any illegal taxing of anything from the internet, because he wanted the internet to be tax-free and services to avoid bullshit like this. So
Bill just doesn't want his porn trays. Let's be honest here.
Do you want yours?
God, no.
So essentially, it's
look. I'm not saying I don't know where he's coming from here.
So essentially, it's kind of like, they're going to use that as the excuse to appeal against it. Who knows how it's going to turn out? Unfortunately, with the level of corruption and bullshit they've been dealing with, I think it's just going to be hard times, and try and resist the best you can. It's easy for us to say that, but just go back to all hard copies, maybe.
Yeah, go to GameStop.
Just go to PS2 and before, and just buy hard copies of games wherever you can find them, and say, F you, I'm not going to do that.
Or move to Delaware, the home of tax-free shopping.
Nobody wants to move to Delaware. They just want to shop shit out of there.
That's goddamn true.
So, yeah.
If you're not in our tri-state area, you don't know that phrase.
So any of you Chicago fans of ours, I feel really bad for you. That really sucks. Good luck. There's not much else to say about that one.
Yeah.
It's another shitty thing, man.
just rack it on there,
huh? The next one. This is some shit Jim would do.
Oh, is this the
Devil May Cry has a $8,000 pre-order bundle. And this is from
in Japan.
And did you even need to say that? That's like saying a circle's round. Come on. Of course it's in Japan.
It's a circle.
It's certainly not in fucking Chicago.
Look, we got enough.
You know what the taxes would be on that fucking...
We have enough weebs in this country, Brian. And what would that be, like a $700 tax on that?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, math.
You did quick math, Jim.
Shit, look at me. Without a calculator.
All the things I want to say.
I'm sure.
So, this is from Engadget.com, and just as the title sounds, essentially they have a few different tiers for Devil May Cry 5.
Yeah, so this is like the top end of the pre-order bonuses.
Yeah,
this is what they are, jackets, like actual real-life replica jackets of characters in the game. So there's some new character, I forget his name, and it's like $3,000 for that. And then I think Virgil, Dante's brother, it's like a $5,000 jacket. And then Dante himself, $8,000. And I know some weirdo wacko cosplayer is going to do it.
Well, here's the deal. and this is why I like this article. So aside from the fact that you are getting a physical leather, and I think they said it's like distressed and has scratch marks, kind of like from the game. I get it, and I know a lot of work goes into it.
$8,000 for a rip jacket.
Hey, you're preaching a choir. I don't know what cosplayers put out for this stuff, but to your point, if
Probably
you want
less
to be
because they stitch it together themselves.
I don't know. I think about this, and then I remember back in the day they did something similar, and the article I think mentions this for Leon's jacket.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right.
Evils. So here's my question to you: of games you really loved, if there was some item that they could have made a real life replica of, forget about price right now.
Right.
But like, what would have been something you would have really liked?
Give me an R-Wing from Star Fox. I'll just sit in my backyard going, pew, 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 pew.
All right. How about something more to scale?
More practical?
Yes.
Maybe
clothing. How about keeping that fucking clothing, dick?
Maybe Max's lightning pants from Streets of Rage 2?
All right. That's more reasonable, I guess. Fucking weird, but...
Maybe a pet kangaroo from Streets of Rage 3?
Especially since I obviously am the master of Max.
Do you
need to see the clip?
Look, Brad, years ago.
Do you need to see the clip?
You took my character.
Do you need to see the clip?
I'm not looking at shit.
Yeah, so I think with mine, one of the things I always thought would be cool, and unfortunately, they always did it was the Pit Boy from Fallout.
Oh, yeah.
But I never got it, and I liked the idea of it. And don't they have ones now? It's like you could basically put your smartphone in it.
Well, that's what the Pit Boy was.
That's what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought
it was only like certain types of smartphones.
So that's something I was like, that'd be kind of cool. But I forget even how much that was.
I think that was like $250 or something. I do wish I got the Juggernog mini fridge for Call of Duty that 1 year. That would have been cool. Yeah. Was that Black Ops 3, I think?
Yeah, I think
or 2?
It was
Probably
Black
2.
Ops 2, yeah.
Yeah, when people cared about Call of Duty.
It's still doing pretty good.
I know it's doing duty.
Just because you're not allowed to play and you're no good at it doesn't mean people don't play it no more, Jim.
I'm just not good at Blackout. I'm very bad at Battle Royale.
I mean, not exactly.
I am fine at goddamn mother. You put me in real modes.
You are a solid number 3 or 4.
How fucking dare you?
That bronze and whatever the fuck nickel or whatever's underneath that. That's a fine metal you have there.
How dare you? Dare you, sir?
So let us know, what would you guys pay a shit ton for? I'd be shocked if any of you would say $8,000 for Devil May Cry, and if you would.
You know what? I would not be shocked to see a whole, like the RPG fans of the world. I think they'd be the ones like...
Oh, yeah, actually like Final Fantasy shit.
Yeah, like, the stupid gun sword, like people would be going for that, or... some shit from Chrono Trigger, like a Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts, crap like that.
Yeah.
I could see that being easy answers for people.
So, let us know. Is there anything like that you guys would go fucking bananas for? Jim, we're bringing back a little bit of an old bit.
All right.
Which is better? Bear with me on this one. I thought about this one.
Great. That's always a good start.
All right, so... You know the Tiger Electronic Games.
Of course.
Especially, for this one, we'll just say, don't worry about the watches. Just do the actual handhelds.
Okay.
Those, or as most people probably know, but especially us dorky-ass engineers, the TI-89, those calculators, were renowned for not only being great to hide cheat notes in and to do everything for your calculus for you, but... they had some pretty goddamn fun games. Off the top.
Right. Who's got time for differential equations when you can just put in Drug Lord or whatever that game was called?
So when I think of games for that, if you've never played, these calculators are number one, ginormous. I'll probably have a picture in the segment video. But
like you know what they are if you've ever
seen it. TI-83 is a more popular. So you could still say the TI-83 as well. Most high schools, I think, require.
If you made it past grade school, you should know what these are.
Yeah. Don't be snooty. Not to our fans who drink Pabst Blue Ribbon and wear red, white, and blue.
Excuse me as I drink my fine heady topper, Bri.
So
and look down on the lesser ones.
So the TI-89, the TI series, I'll say calculators, The games I remember the most were Snake, Postman, and like Jim's alluding to, it was called like Drug Dealer or Drug Lord.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
Essentially, it was a text-based RPG.
It was like a text-based drug dealer simulation game.
Yeah, where you would like power them up and find stuff.
Yeah.
So, goddamn, maybe we were just always bored in class, or maybe we just
Yes.
or we have ADD. Whichever.
Yeah, no problem.
We played the shit out of those.
Yeah, and I also had like this one racing game that I played the ass out of, and all it was like imagine a like pole position level like Atari graphic car,
Yeah.
and it's just going down a track
Yep,
that's
yep.
progressively getting shorter. And that's all it was.
And I think Jim was telling me,
Doom has been ported to it.
I'm sure you can
been
find
ported everywhere,
a
so.
ton of games for this.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking about those basics. For me,
And like, what's that? What was that? Like the game where it's like a platformer and you had to like push the blocks into the right position to get out of there. Like you couldn't actually jump. You had to like position the shit right. It was like a puzzle platformer, but it was also like based off a real game. I forget.
I'm not sure. But
We're not gonna remember anyway.
no, we're not. But with that being said, honestly, this is a fucking tough one for me. Because I'm one of those people, as a kid, loved the Tiger things. Mm-hmm. They were shitty games, and I look back and be like, I can't believe I had so much fun. But if I wasn't playing my Game Boy or I found a new one, god damn did I love them. I think for the sheer utility of the quality of the games and what allowed me to waste more time in high school, I gotta go with the calculator.
Okay, here's why people love the Tiger. The artwork on them was always great.
Oh, yeah. They were little works of art.
Like, you had more fun looking at them than playing them.
Oh, for sure.
So,
although there were two I had that I legit, just because I think I always got a crazy high score on it. I know they're still terrible. I'm not trying to say they're good games.
Right.
But it's undeniable that I had legit fun playing.
I'm sure, yeah.
But nothing, yeah, I would have to go with the calculator games.
I never had them. So I'd be over my friend's house, and I'd spend all my time playing their Tiger games or their Game Gear, their Game Boy. All things I didn't have.
Wait, you mean you didn't come with a pack of socks?
No, Brian. I had the Pro 400 gaming system from Boscov's. Came with over 400 different games.
How many different things of pinball?
No pinball, actually. It was really like 10 games with like 4,000 different variations on them.
So, like, Breakout?
And there was like 17 versions of Tetris on it.
Of course.
Yeah. There was a Breakout version, too.
So, are you agreeing with me?
No, of course it's the TI calculators. Like, people did, even the old 83s and shit like that, like, they did way more. They're playable games.
I just never know with you and your goddamn weird sensibilities.
No. Look, just because I was jealous of kids with the Tiger Electronic, which normally kids with the Tigers are jealous of the kids with the Game Boy, whatever. But, yeah, so mine never, it's the TIs.
Okay.
That's a smart answer.
So, we would love if anybody out there is
The diehard.
diehard Tiger fan. You're saying, no, it was better.
No, I had the R-Zone. I walked around class with it.
Let us know what you guys think. Because, yeah, it's getting interesting when I'm trying harder and harder to make it much more compatible, unlike Jim's Terrible, which is better. Resident Evil 2 or, fucking Toe Jam and Earl. Like, it doesn't make sense. So, if you guys have any topics or things you want us to compare or rate, let us know. Speaking of bits, Jim.
Go on.
We're doing something a little different for our overrated, underrated.
All right.
Before, we wouldn't talk at all. We still don't really talk about the positions, but we would pick a topic and then we would say, I'd say about 70% of the time we ended up agreeing.
Yeah.
And, we want kind of a debate. Whether we believe it or not, one of us is going to take the opinion of overrated, one's going to take underrated, and do our best to argue against it. Do the whole devil's advocate. Fucking debate team shit, Jim.
All right.
I know you suck at debate because I've won everything up until this point. I mean, let's face it.
Brian, I've never said we had the smartest fans in the world. If they watch us, they can't be that
How
smart.
many times are you going to insult our goddamn fans? You think the Punisher's going to put up with this? I'm Bushwhacker.
Pew, pew. I have a gun arm. I'm cool.
So, for this one, we are going to go over wireless controllers for any console. I'm not picking a particular one. I'm going to be taking the position of overrated. Jim's going to go underrated. And I'm going to let you start.
All right. So, when you were a kid...
You lost.
God damn it.
Go ahead.
When you were a kid, what is the one thing you wish more than anything else that your controllers were? You always wanted them to be wireless. Every
Virtual
company...
reality.
Well, yes, virtual reality. One, virtual reality. Two...
More comfortable in my hands with now.
People jerk off the NES controller, and that thing's just a square. Like,
Yeah.
so, rectangle. Whatever. But what everyone wanted was we always wanted the wireless controllers. We didn't want to be tethered to the TV. All the third-party companies, they all made their own shitty versions of infrared wireless ones, and all we ever thought was, why can't our companies make the real ones? So, remember when the Wavebird came out? Remember how everyone freaked the hell out about that? Want to know why? Because it was wireless, and it worked. And, granted, the GameCube controller is a great controller, but now that you can go wherever you want with it, it just made it that much better. So why would you ever want to sit in one spot or be forced or be tethered? God forbid you had to take a dump in the middle of a game session and you happen to have a bathroom 5 feet away from you, but the cord only goes 6 feet. And you're already 4 feet away from the TV. What do you do then, Bri?
You sound like
you pause the game.
You're giving real life experience here, Jim.
I just might be. But what do you do at that point? Do you just sit there and shit your pants?
You could put the controller down.
No.
I mean, let's face it. In that scenario,
Right. What if you're playing Street Fighter 2 and you're finally going to beat it for the first time, but you only have a 3-button controller and you can't pause the game? What do you do then? What if you're tethered? Much like in the social classes, and you're being held down by the elite. You're being tied down, Brian.
Well, Jim,
how do you rise up? You rise up by cutting the cord, Brian.
If you are giving this scenario with your Street Fighter, let's say, number one, if you're using a 3-button controller, then you're playing the far inferior Sega Genesis version, and you didn't upgrade to the correct control scheme, which makes that game damn near unplayable at that point. And
not unplayable. This is a different argument. It's a different argument.
It's unplayable, and what I would say is that game does have a pause, so there's no excuse. Now, if you were to maybe use a more realistic, maybe a more personal, like you're playing Call of Duty and you got to go to the bathroom and you're playing a game with your friends.
Yeah.
I guess the thing in that situation is, you're not the top of that team. You're not really contributing. So, would your loss be
how am I going to know that I'm not the top of the team? How can I rise up from this stereotype that has been thrown upon me and be the top points getter? But
because
if I'm tethered there, how can I do it if I have things to do?
Funny how history has a way of repeating itself, Jim. And if we check down your track record, it's a little tough.
I'm not having the finest record in the newest Call of Duty.
Or any of them. But I
shut your whore mouth.
I agree. The idea of having wireless was always one that appealed to everyone with the idea of
and here's one more for you. Since we've gone wireless, have outside of the weirdos out there, have we ever gone back? Has anyone ever said, "Oh man, I wish I was still tied to this computer," or "I wish I was tied to this console"?
We have gone back because we got like NES Classic version, and
well, that's because they're trying to recreate the old feel.
People seem to be buying them.
Well, of course, people are buying them. People buy anything Nintendo.
Just saying. You could even argue the Switch is even more because you're playing with a controller on top of your game.
No, that's the definition of wireless.
That's ultra tethered.
You're not tethered at all.
It's right in front of your face.
You can take it on a plane with you. You're not tethered.
Just saying.
No, who's that just saying?
Think about it.
No, it's a terrible example. I win.
So I took the thing of overrated because underrated would have been way too easy for me to win. So with overrated, first things first. You like your balls?
I enjoy them.
So all those RF signals that are going out, you already got your phone, you already got shit. You're sending all these signals right next to your junk because in theory you're not holding your controller up here. You could, but you're holding it down here. So your balls are gone. So that's number one. Number two. How annoying? How annoying is it when you are playing and all of a sudden you get that goddamn low battery sign. Regardless of if you have a rechargeable pack, if you have double A's that you can recharge, even if you have a whole plethora of double A's sitting right next to you, you might be right in the middle of a goddamn game. Some systems are significantly better than others at giving you better warning, but then you have the goddamn Xbox One, which gives you one signal, and then literally about 30 seconds to a minute later, your fucking controller turns off. That's pretty goddamn frustrating. And I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you. Because you're such a goddamn collector, everything has its place and it's super neat. But us normies, sometimes we lose shit, Jim. And you know what allows us to not lose shit? A goddamn wire. And when it's wireless, where the fuck's my controller? Where is it? You know what else it's more likely to do when you're really mad at a game and losing all the time like you do to me? You're going to throw that goddamn controller. If it's tethered, you're a little less likely because you're going to pull that whole goddamn system. But when it's wireless, chuck that motherfucker away, Jim. So these are all things. I think the controller lifespan goes down when it is wireless. The maintenance on it is a son of a bitch. And I like my balls.
All right.
Case closed.
First off.
Case closed.
It's not an RF signal. It's probably infrared.
Do you want that going through your balls?
No, but those are from the old school shittier ones. Everything now is Bluetooth.
Do you want it through your balls? We don't know Bluetooth. You want blue balls? I don't like blue balls. Do you like blue balls? I don't like blue balls.
What, did you just become Jackie Mason? Oh, take my wife, please.
So, you know.
But, no, and to your point, look, so sure, there's going to be some maintenance things. You're going to have to do a little bit of planning with it. Mm-hmm. But isn't it better to not have an instant gratification? Don't you want your kids to learn the value of having to plan out things, of having to work just even a little bit for what they need? If I can quote a song, freedom isn't free, Brian. So if you want to have sweet, sexy freedom that you have with a wireless controller, maybe you'll have to have a few batteries next to you. Maybe you'll even have a charging station for yours. Maybe you have an Xbox One controller and you take the time to go out and buy a rechargeable battery for it because that goddamn company hasn't put one in their freaking controllers yet. So...
Or maybe if I want to teach my kids the value of working for something.
And
no, I'm going to finish it. If I want my kids to have the value of that, I'm going to let them play games where you had to earn it. And guess what? All those games need it, Jim. A wired controller. Because the new ones, you can save anytime you want. You can just play online with a buddy and beat the game. Those old ones, they grew your balls, which I still have. That's why you don't.
Look, Brian, if I could...
I already won.
Balls.
I
I can't not giggle at balls. That thing. And, well, Brian, here's another thing, though. If, per se, you're playing a game, and all of a sudden, my battery's getting low.
I don't play, I win. Go ahead.
So, while you're in the process of doing whatever the fuck you do with your goddamn
winning,
games.
say winning. If we're going to play a scenario
out. Fine, Sheen, fine. So, what do? Well, you can always just go and grab a cord and plug it in, and it becomes a wired controller. So you can have both worlds.
Not all do that.
You can have the best of both worlds, Brian.
Not all do that. And besides,
enough of them do.
We all know.
So either way, you have more options, more portability, and you can still, at the end of the day, still have what you have with a wired controller, with a wireless controller.
Not that you actually play modern systems, but if you did, when was the last time you ever sat wired just because you had the option?
Last time we played Xbox because my controller was dead. So I had to keep it plugged in.
That doesn't shock you. See, you, Mr. Prepared, couldn't even prepare for your own argument.
Look, Brian, I'm talking about kids.
Closed.
I'm talking about kids. I'm not talking about me. I go beyond these limits here.
Hey, Jem.
And also with your little throw the controller bit here. Mm-hmm. Aren't you taking an unnecessary risk? Maybe it will stop your controller from, say, bouncing a little more. But
no, I just
what if you have the strength of a moron like you do, and you throw it so extra hard that it might, say you have an old plastic system, maybe it's a little light, maybe
Sega?
It just goes flying with it.
Sega?
No, maybe that like crappy NES looking thing, maybe a top loader. So with your force of rage, you're throwing a controller that's then in turn throwing the whole system across the room. Whereas with a wireless controller, maybe you're out $50 for a controller if you do it bad enough. But what if you take the whole system with you, Brian? Then you're just doing everything all over again.
So all I can do, I could play the hypothetical or I could play realistic. If it was wired, I'm just going to bite the son of a bitch. I'm not going to throw because I don't want to ruin it. But I will tell you, I've taken Xbox 360 controllers, and in my rage, twisted them so hard, they break in half, Jim. Or I did throw them. I know from experience. Now, Jim, let me ask you.
Look, Bri, you're like the special brother from Grapes of Wrath, okay?
Jim, let me just ask you one thing. Is it fair to say that your favorite thing from Denny's is a Grand Slam, and you just got served one? Could you say that? I know you're a Denny's boy.
How am I a Denny's boy?
You've been there a few times.
Of course I've been to Denny's. Everyone's been to Denny's.
And you know you're hungover. What are you going to order? You ain't just going to order
Of course you're going to go for the Grand Slam.
You're welcome. You just got served one.
Jesus Christ. You so goddamn. I mean, I definitely did win the argument, but I still hate you.
I mean, you didn't because you had the easy end, and I overcompensated. Because at the end of the day, who's got the balls, Jim? Who's got the balls? So we'd love you guys to sound off on this.
Coming from the guy who plays more, spends more time with modern consoles than I do.
I know.
So if anything, you have the zap balls. Who's got the balls?
Listen, Jim. That's not the debate here, is it? And remember, I don't play, I win.
Oh, God.
I'll be expecting a tip.
Just in the goddamn sake.
Grand Slam. So, let us know what you guys think. I should lose this one. No one's going to argue for going back to wired controllers, but...
You know who's going to do it? People who are, like, so anal about, like, latency and, like, lag and shit like that. Even a split-second frame for people like fighting game fans, they'll always go for the wired arcade stick controllers.
Of course.
That's the only thing I can see.
So, let us know what you think, and let us know if you like this style. To be honest, I think we're going to do it because we want to make sure we're showing some kind of opposing thoughts on each subject. But the next one, it's just a random question I have for Jim, and we've touched on this here and there. So what would you rather have when you buy a game? Do you want the...
Titties?
What kind of games you buying, Jim?
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about there. I don't appreciate it.
Go on. You're one to talk with that shit.
All right, so would you rather have the finished, typical $60 game, but there's still going to be, as you hate very much with modern consoles, there's going to be updates, there's going to be DLCs, there's going to be microtransactions, all that, or get the early access to games like we've seen with PUBG, Friday the 13th, Fortnite, like all these games where you're probably paying, what is it, 30, maybe $40 on the higher end, and you're definitely getting, it's not a finished game, but you will get those guaranteed, we'll call them free updates. Like Jason, I always use that as an example. What was that, 30 or $40?
40.
All right, so it was $40, and at the point of sale, no one was debating it was not worth $40. Even if it was a hell of a fun multiplayer, it was missing features out the ass. Since then, they've added a whole plethora of shit. So my question to you is, forget about the history of games and what was nice back in the day where you bought a game had a ton of content.
Right.
Thinking of modern games and how they are, because you buy any new game now, you're still going to have an 11 gig fucking update or this or that. Which one would you prefer?
I would only prefer a quote-unquote, you can have the rest of that one, a quote-unquote finished game, just because there's no guarantee that the early access game will ever get finished. So if an early access game gets popular enough, and the best example of this is PUBG, because they never really finished it.
No, they're still adding shit to it.
They're still adding to keep it fresh, to keep a player base, but they're never going to like revamp or finish off the graphic style. It's still just going to be a glorified asset flip. They're never going to add game modes to it more than what's really there, because they make all the money off the one hot mode that's out there right now.
Yeah.
Like, they have no reason to ever go back and finish it. And I think they've even said at this point that they're like, the game's finished. I mean, it's clearly not. It's barely upgraded from what it was. So, I mean, I know they added a whole new map
and new
for
modes.
free, and Did they add new modes?
They basically, their version of it is team deathmatch, but it's basically, I forget how many against how many, but you die and you respawn until one team gets enough kills or you get killed enough. It's for that game when you go from being doing nothing for a long time, this is just, you get like basically.
So you have a sloppy team deathmatch?
Yeah, basically like you have like the best like armor and shit and a crazy good gun, and you just go at other people. It's very interesting. For that game, it feels really weird because you're so used to like trying to be sneaky and shit.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about this, and to your point, I hate games that I fucking put on day one, and I have 11 gig update, where I find a bug, or
and that's really every game at this
that's
point.
every game. So
like, there's a difference between updates to make the game playable
Yeah.
and updates to finish off a game, quote unquote.
So when I get even a newer AAA title,
But then again, even these newer titles, before I cut you off, like, they're not fully complete either. Like $60, you don't get a complete game.
no, you got to buy the DLC.
You got to pay the
pass.
fucking $300 pack that doesn't even give you a copy of the game inside the goddamn pack to get all the armors and the season pack and the extra shit.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say right now, if you want to get full price for a game, you're going to do $60 for the game, at minimum $40 for a season pass. That should include all the DLC moving forward. So you're basically paying $100 for the finished game, not including microtransactions and other bullshit.
Well, I mean, there are finished games like God of War, Spider-Man,
Sure, yeah.
Red Dead, like full gaming experiences.
But even those, they have the DLCs that if you...
They will eventually, they
Yeah.
do have it to add on to it. And
Yeah.
adding on to it, I don't have a problem with. I don't like, that's to me like an expansion pack in the old computer days.
Yeah. But I mean, season passes.
Season passes, yeah.
So, for me, though, the one argument I would give for the unfinished or developed game, there has been something enjoyable since it's a new thing for us that you kind of feel like. I remember Friday the 13th. I'll always go back to that because that's the best reference I have. I know there's plenty of others out there. I would actively, like, if I ran into bugs or something, I would be tweeting out to the main guys, and they would actually respond back, like, yo, I keep running into this issue with this, or, hey, this one guy keeps exploiting this glitch. Sure as shit, within a month, that bug is fixed. It's kind of like you're part of that development team, which makes the gaming, like, you feel more involved. Some people might not want that. That's something I kind of really enjoyed, and as long as I got the single player or the additional Jasons or whatever, as long as they're free to me and I don't have to pay extra, it's a fun, like, it's a journey with the game. I'm not saying every game I want to do that, but I'm saying some games, I'd rather them come out and do that, especially if they're in the process of trying to develop, and that's an easy way to get influx of some capital to keep the game going, than potentially fail and the game never comes to light, or it comes out 5 years later because they couldn't get the funding. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of in between. I'd rather even get a beta version of a game, see it developed through my $30-$40, and
I'm trying to think of that one, and I think it was a Kickstarter, so it's not probably the best example, but there's a game that's like a star, like, ship-based game that's kind of like EVE Online.
yes.
But it's been in early access now for like 6-7 years. And it's a thing that looks like it'll never be finished, and people, like, there are backers for that who put big-time money into it.
Yeah, and that's why I would be more for just pay a flat fee than just these backers, because how many stories have we already talked about with Kickstarters and shit where that goes nowhere, a lot of people get screwed, and the game never comes out.
Right.
If they would just turn around and say, you know what, here's the product where it is, yeah, I don't know. I kind of really like that, because I feel like I'm getting screwed sometimes if I don't get a season pass or something. And this doesn't apply to all games. I mean, think of any Grand Theft Auto. Think of, actually, just a lot of PlayStation single-player
Well, I
games.
mean, even then, like, GTA 5's still got, they've been updating it since.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and it's not, I'm actually not sure I don't have GTA 5. I don't know if they've been making me pay for it.
Yeah, it's half pay, half not. Like, obviously, all the costumes and whatever you pay for, but some of the heist modes you don't have to pay for.
Okay.
But that's a perfect example of, like, you got way more than your money's worth.
Right.
So I don't necessarily think I have an absolute preference, but I'm starting to cherish that work with the developing team.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely the feeling of do you want to pay to be a playtester, basically. But if you believe in the project enough, maybe you want to. Maybe you want to be able to play it from the beginning.
One of the examples, there's a company out there, and I can't remember their name, but they're making, I don't know if you ever saw that movie, Puppet Master.
Okay.
They're basically making a human versus, like, you know, kind of like Jason, like the asymmetrical one versus many.
Right.
And they've been in development for a while. They've released some free betas. But that's one, like, it has a lot of promise because I love that movie. But I kind of wish they would almost charge you so they could get it done.
Yeah.
So.
And then hopefully they don't run into the licensing issues that Jason did either.
Yeah, that's, well, I
killed
think,
that off.
Yeah, I think the Blue Moon, Puppet Master was made by Blue Moon, which they've been defunct for a while. So if those greedy assholes come back, it's like, dude, be happy someone's talking about your shit. So let us know what you think. This topic was kind of a primer for what we're about to go into, because I think a lot of people feel this is the situation. Fallout 76. Jim's reaction is what most people's reaction when I asked a guy at GameStop, had he played it? Does he think it's worth it, even though it has a massive price drop? General consensus, there are some really, really crazy defenders of it right now that want to say the game is what it is. I've read both sides. I think there's, of course, way more people overreacting. I think there's some people, and I'm one of the biggest Fallout fans there is. I think you're trying to defend it a little too hard. Yes, most people who played Fallout have always said it would be cool to have a multiplayer. But let's face it, we've always been okay with the single player. We've never cared. Like, Fallout 4 was a perfect example. That engine was still dated. And apparently the 76 engine is just
it's
like
the
4.
same engine.
Same engine. Slight graphical upgrade, maybe. But essentially, we got a little taste of, like, expanding the horizons in that game by building bases and stuff. Made it feel like a little bit of a different game. But people have always been like, oh, man, I wish I could roam around this post-apocalyptic world. And now we do. But they took a big cut out of the main story and the objectives and NPCs, which is one of the reasons why you love Fallout. How many goofy characters from the Fallout could arguably go down as the greatest video game NPCs ever? Well, for me personally, there's a lot.
There's a lot from 3. Hey, New Vegas had some cool ones too.
I know you didn't.
I didn't play 4.
4 has a shit ton, and it's.
And then you have that friggin' TV face monster from the first one.
Yeah. So.
What a good description.
It's like, so now though the problem is, especially with 76, I'm hearing is all your quests are basically just from computers. It feels extra desolate. Which, given the story of 76, it's like right after the blast, and you're one of the first vaults opened. So in theory, it should be a little more desolate. But that's besides the point. What?
Battery.
Oh. But that's kind of besides the point. I mean, I guess in general, Jim, when you see this blowback, do you think it's warranted or not?
I actually have the privilege of being the social media guy. So I've been able to see this from the beginning. And at the very start and before it got released, I was on the thing of people are just being babies. It's not my Fallout. It's not like Fallout shouldn't be multiplayer. And I was under the impression of give it a shot. Let's just see what comes out first before you bash it. Maybe it'd be cool. It's a cool universe. And then even when it first released and people were going nuts, and I mean it's not like you should be able to, like, with a Bethesda game, be like, oh, it's going to be buggy. Like, of course, it's like a meme now. It's a thing you shouldn't allow, but, like, it's a thing that, like, normally the games are so good that you just kind of accept it.
Yeah.
You, like, look past it. But
and the sheer size of the thing.
That's the thing, too. Like, an MMO is always prone to bugs because of how big it is.
Yeah.
And Bethesda is always prone to bugs because it's Bethesda. So you throw that two together, and then you just see all the things that have just come after it. The fact that, like, the autosave system, which is something that MMOs have done for over a decade now. The autosave system sucks. Like, you can lose 10, 20 minutes of stuff if you lose your connection to the server.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. The bugs, the fact of just how even how barren it is. Like the charm of Fallout is the world, and you take the world out, you take the people out of the world, you just have a desolate landscape.
Yeah.
So I know it's supposed to be builded up with the players you play with, and I will admit I haven't played it myself, so I don't know. Like, maybe if I had the right group of people to play with, yeah, it could be fun. But even the other shit, like the pre-order bonuses, like the bag, that wasn't the bag that they honored when you paid like $200 for it, or problems with people had with the helmet and shit like that. Just all, and Bethesda's attitude after the fact, just everything, just it's such a bad form from a company that normally just hits it out of the park.
Would you say they learned from Blizzard? Huh?
Yeah, they. I mean, at least did they insult the crowd? I mean, there wasn't a crowd, but I mean the internet.
I mean
They probably got snarky.
They weren't. Yeah, they weren't. As
They
bad.
didn't take it in stride. Let's put it that way. They didn't go, "Oops, our bad." They kind of like doubled down on their shit.
So the reason why I said before all this that the primer to this conversation was asking Jim, does he prefer a developed game or a finished game? Within weeks,
this was a finished game.
They cut the price
even though
half.
the beta was done like a month before the game actually came out. Like that's no time at all.
And there was plenty of comments about, hey, this shit needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. With this system, if you're going to make such a big paradigm shift with your universe like that, they admit it. They needed to figure out how to interact multiplayer, like having multiple people in the same universe.
VATS is useless.
Yeah. So basically, it's like you're not going to satisfy the people that really want player versus player, because apparently if you don't engage, you're doing almost no damage to someone. So unless they engage, it's kind of like you can't force player versus player. Which
just dumb.
Fallout isn't. Yeah, either you're gonna,
you would think it would be a perfect setup for almost like a DayZ kind of game, where it's like survival and like forming cliques and groups.
Too many people would get too upset given like what you said, like losing too much shit or whatever. So that's why it's like, okay, maybe this little experiment showed Fallout is not the universe to make multiplayer, or at least if you wanted to test it out, you should have made a $30 game to begin with. Give it a map a half the size of what you did. If you're not even going to occupy it with storyline and all this other shit, then just make it half, charge $30. It's an online-only experience. Don't even do disc release. Just do online, test it out. If it goes sour, then it was a fun little experiment. If it goes well, implement it into Fallout 5, and you got yourself a gold mine.
I've seen it said before, No Man's Sky, Fallout Edition. Tell me they're wrong.
Yeah, it's not. So let us know what you think below. Are you defending it? Have you played it? Do you enjoy it?
Especially because, like, the majority bashing games on sales, like,
people
out the
bitch
ass
about
now.
everything anymore.
People who bitch about everything.
Yeah.
So if you are, like, the staunch defender of it, let us know why. We would love to see it.
Yeah. No, we would definitely appreciate it. And if you've played it, give us some feedback. Just keep some of the things we said in mind. We've recognized all the other issues.
Yeah.
The actual game, is it fun? Do you have any fun?
And how do you have your fun with it?
Yeah. All right, the next topic, unfortunately, I should have put this with the beer stuff.
Planning.
But, so Jim got so much excitement now of showing me that goddamn Miller High Life in champagne glasses that I saw this yesterday when I was watching some football. Go Birds. They beat the Rams.
Fucking somehow.
Chargers.
No, it was Rams.
Rams, yeah. Fuck. Yes, they beat the Rams. That was great. But I saw a commercial that really sparked my interest. I was like, what the fuck? So Budweiser
Fucking late season Nicky Foles.
is... Big Dick Nick.
He wins us another Super Bowl. I won't complain.
So Budweiser Copper. It's basically Budweiser aged in Jim Beam barrels. And the process for this is not unlike what we've seen in the craft world for a long time. It's what Guinness actually does with Jameson. They actually swap back and forth. You see it a lot more now, like with the Jameson castmates. You get a big brewery of bourbon or whiskey who has all these barrels, nothing to do with it. Ship them over to some beer, some breweries, and essentially they just age it in the shit. Once again, it's super well known for the craft world, and Budweiser, one of the biggest companies that gave craft beer shit, talking about we brew our beer the hard way. All these others add artificial flavors or age it and stuff. If you have to age your beers in barrels, then you might not be making beer good enough. You got two of the most iconic American companies in Budweiser and Jim Beam, and now they're combined. I guess the first thing I would say is, having had a shit ton of beer, generally lagers don't age well in bourbon barrels. You always do it with ales, and that's the way they're fermented, and that's the way they're made. So I don't know how it tastes. I'm going to get a bottle, and I'm sure we'll drink it on here. Maybe it tastes amazing. I don't know. I like each one individually. I don't love Budweiser. It's fine. I prefer Jack over Jim. And honestly, I prefer most other actual bourbons over both of those.
Yeah.
Besides the point. What do you think of that, Jim?
Well, one, goddamn, I forgot to get the Miller champagne bottle.
Yeah, you get that, I'll get this.
All right, that works. Actually, we were tailgating for a Flyers game, and they actually brought the champagne bottle, but it was piss warm, so we're all taking sips of it, and it was fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's Miller High Life. It's not really the champagne of beers. And I don't like champagne.
We are not 18 anymore, so Miller High Life is not good. But some could say Budweiser is maybe they're a little hoisted by their own petard at this point, Brian. Maybe they got a little too big for their britches, and now the craft beer is actually taking a chunk out of their profit margin.
Or is this just like, even though the lime versions have come out and they stayed around, is this their...
Well, Bud Light Lime's still popular. Miller Show flopped.
But that's what I mean. Like, I feel like once they see things get big, they just take their hand at it. They're like, let's give it a try. It's kind of like Burger King and releasing specialty burger.
It's like Call of Duty putting in Blackout.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair comparison.
It's a great comparison.
But the Blackout, I look at that as like, I feel like you're going to start seeing that be a permanent mode in all the FPSs.
Yeah.
Whereas this could be a very easy, like, they do it for a season, not enough people buy, and they're like, all right, well, fuck it, that was an experiment.
Yeah, that's true.
Could be the same for Blackout, but essentially, I think we've talked about this on here, man. The fucking influx of every beer. Oh, it's barrel age. So,
I mean, like, I had my Budweiser phase, like, there was a while, like, one of my bands, like, I was in a decade ago, we'd hang out for the night and we'd kill off a case of Budweiser, like, straight, normal, American Budweiser.
The fuck else? There's another European Budweiser. Why are you guys
it's owned by the Krauts now, so, I mean, back in my day, it was a good old-fashioned American Budweiser.
You're old.
Now it's Krautweiser.
You're not young like Frank.
Anyway, so, I mean, I've been there and done that with Bud, but I don't need my Budweiser to be barrel-aged in Jim Beam. So, you know what that sounds like to me? It just sounds like a hangover.
So one thing I should have looked up, I'm checking it right now, it comes in at 6.2%.
All right, so that's
about 1% or 2 more than the standard
That's
Bud.
like a third more at least.
Yeah, so...
Third more alcohol. Which, I mean, there is, like, Bud Premium, or, like, I think that has more alcohol, too. But
here's the deal.
Either way.
The only thing I will say
though.
is, and I know Bud's just like cars, beer companies are going back to their retro labels, retro bottles, all that stuff. I do like the way the bottle looks. It's that standard, what I call the medicinal bottle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's like the full fat, doesn't have a long neck.
Imagine like a bottle of Red Stripe, just with a Budweiser label on it.
Yeah. So, next podcast, I'll make sure I get some. Jim will get his shitty champagne, and
we will have us a classy night.
We will have a very classy night. Maybe one of our next drinking games we'll get drunk on this shit.
Yeah, you know what? We can bring those back.
Maybe we could drink on pinball games.
Maybe we can.
No, we can't. Shut the fuck up.
Yes, we can do it.
So, yeah, if you guys saw that commercial or have any thoughts on it, let us know. I had to bring it up either way.
Yeah, I missed out on this because I went to bed early, but that's pretty funny, actually.
That's why the Eagles won.
It probably is why.
Every time you watch, what happens? They get fucked up.
Yeah. I was taking them in my goddamn football pool all year. They kept losing. I kept losing.
Jim, how'd you do in your fantasy? Who knocked you out of the playoffs?
You piece of dog shit. Got 9-4 team here, losing to a goddamn 5-6. My team didn't show up, and you know what happened this week too? They didn't show up again.
You know what happened? Punisher happened.
Team shit the bed. You Punisher. My ass.
I'm just saying, he got resurrected, Jim.
I would have been more mad if the other 9-4 guy didn't also lose to a guy who was 5-6, who's your goddamn brother. Fucking collusion. Bullshit.
The Quinn dynasty speaks volumes, Jim. You're part of it now, so be happy. All right. So, I'm going to call this a new bit, but this is something every guy, I'll just say guy, maybe girls do it, I don't know. But during college and at work, I love to throw out hypotheticals.
Oh.
Would you do this for that? Would you always pick something someone really wants and you either throw something bad or some sacrifice.
I know this is going to grow into it more, but you are a son of a bitch with these.
I love them, and I'll break you down. I'll make you admit that you're going to do something for something. You're going to do something strange for a little piece of change, one way or another. It's going to be something.
That's a good motto.
Yeah. So, I'm going to keep it tame this time, Jim. If you were to get pristine an entire Sega Genesis closed-in-box collection, every single game, if there's Japanese exclusive, whatever.
All right, so the entire run.
Everything. But you could never play any game on the N64 again. Would you take that deal?
See you, N64. Bye-bye.
Let me throw a caveat. You can't turn around and sell it.
Oh, no. I wouldn't sell it.
Okay, you just for keeps.
Yeah.
Okay. So you would, without doubt.
Yeah.
See, I thought you were always a little bit more on the N64 side.
No, I mean, I do love my N64, don't get me wrong, and I love it more than most people do. It seems like the only people who like the N64, we've said this before, were people who grew up with it. People who were gaming before then, they didn't want it. People who gamed after then think it's an ugly piece of crap. So you have to be in a very specific time frame of life to really like the N64. And I love my N64. But if you're going to give me an entire Sega Genesis collection...
But of that collection, I mean, you could say this for any system.
There's going to be a lot of shit in there.
How many Sega, if you just, not trying to be accurate, what did you say, 700, 800?
700 to 800 worldwide, shit like that.
So would you think maybe 200 are super good? Or even really playable?
If you got 200, and I think there's probably more, but if you got 200 good to really good out of that, it's solid.
Okay.
The N64 only had maybe 350 games total.
Now do the reverse.
So a full N64 collection, and I can never play Genesis again?
Yeah, but add in all the Japanese any exclusives from any other country.
I'd probably want to go for that with the N64. I think, because like I said, I do like my N64. The first party titles are great. A lot of the Japanese exclusives are really good. Like, I think people here would like the N64 more if we got more of those games. But even with those thrown in there, you don't have the robust game library that you would have with the Genesis. Like, the Genesis, you have a little bit of everything. The N64, you don't have. Like, you're missing a lot.
All right. So, now this is the point where I'm going to start.
Being a son of a bitch?
I'm going to start digging.
Here we go.
All right. So, your Sega Genesis, full, complete in-box. But you have to get rid of not only your N64, but everything Turbo Graphics. And you've had, what, maybe 20 games there?
I have like 20 Turbo games. So I can't touch the Turbo at all? Ever again? You know what? I could live with that, not touching the Turbo again, because a lot of Turbo games are kind of just versions of other games too. So like shmups, like thousands of them on the Turbo that are great, tons on the Genesis that are great. RPGs, both are a little lacking in that front. Like, there's Gauntlet ripoffs in both. There's arcade ripoffs in both. So I still think the Genesis library is robust enough. And I do love me my Turbo.
All right.
Like, the Turbo and Genesis are both that, like, weird, ugly duckling that have their own, like, unique feel.
All right, so I hit what I thought would be your biggest challenges to Genesis.
All right.
So now, I'll go to the extreme of that. You get the Genesis, no other system.
I can't do that.
Okay. I mean, I know you obviously still play some modern, maybe some PS2 here and there.
Yeah.
Probably NES, but okay, so you won't go there.
Yeah.
Now, let's see what you would do for a closed-in-box Genesis.
Oh, God.
So now we know what he's willing to give up and not give up. This is where it's going to take a little bit of turn. Probably won't be his PC. All right, so to get that, would you... How do I say it? All right, I'll start more simple. You got to give your wife one good slap, as hard as you can. But she knows what it's for. Let's say she's even say it's okay. You can do it.
Oof.
Complete in box, everything pristine. She says it's okay, and in theory, you'll never hear about it again.
Brian.
I'm just throwing it out there, Jim.
Tempting.
You would in a second.
As it is. No. Because she could say whatever the hell she wants to say. She can sit there and say, I understand, it's fine.
Let's argue.
I've heard before from the female brain, it's okay, it's fine.
All right.
I understand.
Let's argue that in this universe, court documents are out there. It's legal. There's nothing that can be done against you. This is just a simple transaction.
Right, I don't think you know the depths of how little I trust.
Oh, I know. I'm saying there's nothing. The worst you're going to do is hear complaining in the future. That's it.
I mean, I will hear that regardless on other things. So,
but nothing else can be done to you. You know what your heart says.
Oh, I know what my heart says, but this is the time where the gut's going. Don't do it. The gut. Always listen to the gut, Brian. And right now the gut's going.
All right.
The heart, and even partially the mind. The mind's 50-50. The heart's like, knock her out. But the gut, the gut's stopping.
Okay. All right. You get to let me, as hard as I can, kick you in the balls. Twice.
Oh, God. One for each?
No. It's just basically, let's say twice over the course of a year. You never know when it's coming.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
As hard as I can. But you get a pristine, you could be sleeping. I could be standing. You don't know.
Well, I guess I don't need more kids. I'd probably go for that.
Okay.
I'd hate myself for it, but the ends would almost justify the means.
All right. And the creme de la creme.
Oh, boy.
How do I put this?
Love to see where this is going.
Let's just say you have to do favors.
Jesus. Here we go.
I think you know what I mean by favors.
Yes, Brian. I'm sure
To
it's helping someone move. That's what I'm sure it is.
To your favorite comedian, Amy Schumer.
Okay.
And whatever she wants.
Okay.
Unshowered. While it's taped and watched.
Oh. Jesus.
But I'm going to sweeten the pot.
All right.
Turbo. Sega Genesis. I'll throw in PS2. All of them. Complete in box, full collections.
Oh. Give me my swim hat. I'm going diving.
God damn it.
Vroom.
All right. I gotta test the bounds of how far what I'm willing to say right now. There's plenty of things I want to throw at you, but I'm gonna test it right.
We're gonna work our way into this.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So you do a lot for that. You do something strange for a little piece of change, Jim. So next week you can ask me hypotheticals.
Okay.
All right. And if you guys have any hypotheticals you'd like to ask, it works better for me and Jim just because we know each other.
Yeah.
So he knows what he'll probably, like, what systems or whatever. But if you want to throw us something, let us know. All right. So I think it's worthwhile for us to go over. You've been doing the pinball reviews for a while.
Yep.
And, I've been absent with the birth of my daughter. I've been crazy busy. We're getting back to reviews now.
2 kids will do it. I will say that for doing these reviews, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sleep. Bye-bye sleep.
Yeah. It's time-consuming. But, we've gone back and forth on themes, on trying to hit a certain whatever. And I realized there's some times, and we were doing it for a while with the best NES games, best Sega Genesis, why not hit the games we actually love the most, enjoy the most? Not saying we won't do shitty games again, because some of you really enjoy watching us suffer through some of those bad ones.
We'll do games we want to talk about.
Yeah.
They can be good or bad.
Exactly.
We have enough of them.
So right now, for the foreseeable, let's just say at least January, February, could go to March, we're going to be looking at most of the Resident Evil games.
And this is in celebration of Resident Evil 2 getting remastered.
That's exactly it. I already pre-ordered it. I'm going to play it. I don't know if I'm going to live stream it because the only issue with live streaming is I don't get as good of a picture quality as if I just record it for you guys. So, although I love, like when I did with Resident Evil 7, I love the input. You guys followed along, got to see me get the shit scared out of myself. But I was also not paying attention to the game as much, so I feel like I might just record it and release the footage after. We wanted to do a review of that.
We could probably rig something up there, too.
We could do both, but the problem is as soon as you do Twitch, you get that shitty little box that says number of followers.
So
it's like a, unless I do OBS, which I'd have to see how my computer could handle it. Essentially...
This would probably handle it better than that thing in there.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So we've already reviewed Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 1 Remake, and Resident Evil 7. Honestly, think of any game in the main series. That's the minimum. We haven't fully decided if we're doing some of the more auxiliary, like Outbreak or Gaiden on the game.
Or Survivor.
It's going to be what can we get our hands on.
What we feel like paying for.
Yeah. It's like if we can find some of those for reasonable prices.
And I'm a sick fuck, but even I have my limits.
So that's what you have to look forward to as far as reviews. It's a series that's very near and dear to our hearts. I'm pretty sure I can say it's both our favorite horror series.
Yeah.
So it's one of those ones that I'm so excited for 2, the remake of 2, that, I was like, fuck, I want to go back and play all the old ones. And while I was doing it, record it, and I'm like, hey, Jim, we should review the Resident Evil games.
Yeah. And, the pinball reviews aren't going to go away. They're just going to be, obviously, a lot slower than they were before because, he's back in the fold. So,
yeah. So
that'll be supplementary, hardware reviews. That'll be supplementary, shit like that.
Honestly, I would... we're going to commit as close to a week, with, one review a week as possible. We'll try to keep more up to date, at least on Twitter or something, letting you guys know our actual schedule because we want to get better at giving you guys schedules, just so you know what to look forward to from us.
Yeah.
But either way, that's the next big series of reviews we have coming up. Also, part of this is kind of a redemption for not getting shit out for October. That was right when my daughter was just born. So
yeah, that's your glory time.
I had no time, and I love to go crazy on October. Broke my heart not to be able to, so now I'm back.
Yeah, so we're going to make up for that.
Let us know what you guys think, and let us know what your favorite Resident Evil is, by the way, just out of curiosity.
Yep.
All right. So now...
so quick. Well, we're going to talk about the situation with the brackets now? Or?
Yeah, so the reason why we're holding brackets to the end of this, and if you're staying with us, we know it's a little bit longer. We appreciate it. We typically used to do brackets at the beginning. I was having weekly brackets, fell behind about 2 weeks, was getting ready to ramp it back up, had all these things listed out, and the site we use, Brackify, is no longer going to be available.
Going bye-bye.
And we had a really fun one, the best Sega Genesis games lined up. And, So we're looking at alternatives, which we'll get to in a minute. But I wanted to round out the last 2 brackets we did. And I'm really hopeful these aren't going to be the last brackets we ever do. So with that being said, the best New Jersey beer. Once again, we really thank people who retweeted us.
Is our last beer bracket really going to involve New goddamn Jersey?
Unfortunately.
Really?
I already had a good Christmas beer bracket ready to go. But we won't have a site for it. So, I'll keep it super short. I'm going to leave it to top 5. Number 5 being the Flying Fish Hopfish IPA.
All right.
Arguably the most well-known Flying Fish beer. Number 4, something you're going to see multiple times, Cape May Brewing's Devil Reach.
Solid.
It's pretty good. Number 3, the Forgotten Boardwalk Funnel Cake, which that is goddamn delicious. And everyone I tell to, they're like, wait, there's a beer that tastes like funnel cake? Yes, there is, and it's damn good.
That's a beer even my wife would drink.
Yeah. You would drink it too, considering the shit you drink.
I drink everything.
You drink them like seltzer bullshits.
Hey, those are good.
They're refreshing.
They're refreshing.
You got a dick suck attitude. I guess you got to refresh.
As long as you get like the claws. Some of the other ones are crap.
And then number 2 is the Cape May Brewing IPA. Once again, one of the most well-known from Cape May. And then number 1, the Cape May Brewing's Coastal Evacuation. I'll be honest. I've had a couple things from Cape May. Never had that. So
Yeah, I don't think I ever had that one either. I've been to the Cape May Brewery. Like, it's good. So
now what I will say, this was the lowest voted bracket. It's only 350 votes.
Eesh.
So at the bottom rung,
New Jersey does not have the drawing power.
all I'll say, we don't want to call them out too much. We'll just say at the bottom, you had Bolero, Snort, and Triumph. Which is kind of what
that really is just Bolero and Triumph.
Which is really what we expected.
I'm surprised that many Boleros are in there. Now, we did say that Triumph is kind of like mediocre overall.
Yeah.
It's a brew pub chain almost.
The biggest problem with
Bolero, tried to be.
I think the biggest problem with Bolero, think of it like Crooked Eye.
No one
Not
knows
enough
it?
people knows about it.
Yeah.
So, we thank you guys who did vote for it. And once again, maybe sometime in the future, if we get brackets back, we can go back to New Jersey.
Now, the polar opposite for crowd interaction.
So, now
Our possible last gaming one. What do I want to go out on?
So it was a hell of one. I always thought about these brackets, and I knew we would get to a point of doing best games for it, but we did the best NES game.
This one even crashed our site.
Crashed our site. We had 6,711 votes, which is the most by far. And, you know, it was so hard to make this. Like, I limited it to 64. And I take all my biases out of it. I generally go to the best list across at least 15 different websites. I'll look into sales. I'll do whatever I can to try and make this list as comprehensive and fair as possible. There were some tough goddamn matchups, and even though I know, Jim, you said the first round might have been...
the first round was a little goofy, but once you even got to the round of 32, that's when it got really tough.
There was heartbreaks, and one thing you'll notice in this, and unfortunately we didn't get the Sega, so you don't get to see it again, I try to right away eliminate games that are in the same series. So it's like you'll see Mega Man versus Mega Man 2. Because it's like I don't want to have a whole bracket of the same things over and over. So I'm going to make them fight each other. And I do seed it just like March Madness. So with that being said...
I say even this one we could just say the top 10. Or go for the bottom
No, we
first.
definitely do the top 10. And you know what? I'll do the bottom 5.
Bottom 5, yeah.
So coming in at number 60, we had Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. I can't say I'm shocked, but at the same time...
That game gets shit on so much.
That gets shit on.
Actually, this is the fucking internet right here. This is
but
what
you
this
know
is.
what I will say? The problem with that is its competition was Legend of Zelda.
Right. So when you put it against the actual Legend of Zelda, then of course it's
Of course, yeah. But, you know, you look at what it's under and you look at some games and you say, shit, man, it's not that bad. I get a lot of this is just based on how it's seated. Number 61. I know this is going to make Jim really furious. Super Mario Brothers 2.
Actually, Brian, did you know that it's just Doki Doki Pad?
So, I am someone...
It's not really a Mario game.
There's no doubt Mario 3 is better than 2, right? Would you deny that?
No, it's better.
All right.
2's my favorite, but 3 is better.
So, all right, you're weird.
I'm always weird.
There's no reason 2 should be your favorite. But what I will say is, yes, that game does get shit on unfairly. But I think I forget if it was C against 1 or 3. Either way,
one of them, so it didn't
neither
really matter.
chance. It never really had chance.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be that low, but I get it.
This one's going to piss people off.
62 is Star Tropics.
I forget what you put this against, but Star Tropics has big time fan base. Like hardcore. Like the people who love Star Tropics love Star Tropics.
I'll be honest, I know very little about Star Tropics. I'm actively trying to go through, because I really want to know what it was against, that it could have been ranked this low, because without giving away the top 10, I'll just say some of the highest ones in there already had their matchups, which means, Super Mario 2 and Legend of Zelda 2 did the best. So Star Tropics must have went against something that people were like, nope.
Must have gone against a heavy hitter.
I can't seem to find it. That's very odd.
Oh, wait, there it is.
All right, Star Tropics went against Metroid.
Well.
I get it, but we'll get to where Metroid is. Let's just say Metroid isn't high enough that it makes as much sense.
Just for the beating Star Tropics took.
63 Ice Hockey makes sense to me.
Where they go against Blades of Steel? Or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
That's one of those ones where...
It's still super fun, but it's no Blades of Steel.
Yeah, and not as many people know as they should. Number 64. I don't know how I feel about this one. To be the last in this, given some of these choices.
But also given the quality of games we have here.
Duck Hunt. To me, I think Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt same, right there next to each other.
People hate that dog.
What I will say is I put it against Super Mario Brothers.
Well, I mean,
so here's the deal. I, of course, love Super Mario Bros. It's a much better game, but it was so cool to get that little orange zapper and be shooting the screen that, I don't know, I thought maybe more people would actually vote against Super Mario.
It's a super fun tech demo, but especially with... Because this got way more normies coming out and voting than anything else. So if you give normal people a vote, they're not going to say Duck Hunt over Super Mario.
I know. At the end of the day, I'm not super shocked, but I look at some of these other titles, and not that any of them, there's no bad title on this list.
There really isn't.
I'm just, man, I don't know. I have a soft spot for Duck Hunt in my heart.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like Duck Hunt. It's almost like, it's a tech demo that's just really fun.
So what I will say before we jump in top 10, there is a absolute shocker for me personally in this.
You know what? I'm not that shocked.
So we'll start with number 10 with Metroid. We knew it would be on here, didn't know where.
I'm actually somewhat surprised it's that high, but
I'm
not so much going to like past Star Tropics, but just in general, because it is a frustrating ass game.
So here's one thing I will say that it pisses me off. One of my favorite series for the NES and in general, number 11 was Castlevania.
Yeah, and that...
no Castlevania made the top 10, which to me, a little bit of blasphemy. Because I would even... And I might be completely by myself, but Castlevania, any one of the three, has arguably the easy top 3 best soundtracks on the NES.
It's up there.
Bloody Tears, all those ones, they're so iconic. And
you're also going against a lot of iconic soundtracks here, too.
Oh, no, I know. The next one is probably the best. But what I'm saying is, I would pick
Brian's butthurt.
Castlevania or Castlevania 3 over Metroid.
Yeah, I could go with either of them over Metroid.
And I get it, but that kills me, that they're, especially some of these other titles.
Because, Metroid can be just as unfair, but Castlevania is a better design game.
Yes, and Metroid, I feel like turns more people off with that crazy map system.
Yeah.
All right. So number 9,
lack of map.
No shocker here. I thought it would be higher, is Mega Man 2.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that's the best Mega Man. I know a lot of people argue for, was it 5 a lot of times?
Probably 5, yeah.
Mega Man 2, Best soundtrack. That Dr. Wily's theme.
And it's the most known one. Easily the best soundtrack.
Yeah, so it's one of those. I'm not shocked. I thought it'd be higher. Number 8.
Another one, all-time soundtrack, game people love and love and love.
DuckTales. But here's the deal. I would play Mega Man 2 over DuckTales any day.
I think DuckTales is like the most loved Disney game.
It is.
Like
no,
ever.
no, and it is, I mean, we played it. It is fun. I feel like this is one where that soundtrack elevates it alone.
The soundtrack does elevate it, but it's also a more accessible game for the masses.
The Mega Man?
Yeah, Mega Man 2 is arguably one of the easiest Mega Mans.
Once you get them blades, man, game fucking over.
Right.
You do what I do, you win.
Right.
He said it.
But DuckTales just on its core, like, I mean, I suck at the game, but like it's a game that anyone can. You put time into it, you're gonna beat it.
Yeah.
That was a ton of people's childhood there.
Number 7, best multiplayer game on the NES, Contra.
Yep.
And we've played it. We love it. Still classic to this day. There's nothing to say there. I feel like that's a good spot for it, too.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be top 5. It should be in that, 6 to 10. Number 6 actually pisses me off. Just because of the games that were excluded. Just because of spot of Mega Man 2 and like games like Tecmo Super Bowl. Tetris.
Right, you're talking about like the most successful game of all time.
It is, but to me, inherently, when I think Tetris,
you're gonna go with the Game Boy.
Game Boy. And would you come on. If you're on the NES, are you gonna pick up Tetris or are you gonna pick up Contra? Are you gonna pick up Tetris or are you gonna pick up Mega Man 2?
Every once in a while I get Tetris.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. It wouldn't be a go-to, but I'd go for it every once in a while.
But if I said, Jim, what game?
But if you pop Tetris in, you're never going to have a disappointing time because it's always going to be Tetris.
But Jim, if I say what's a better game, Tetris or Mega Man 2, what are you going to say?
Mega Man 2.
There you go.
Now,
there's my point.
As an NES game, Mega Man 2 is better. As a timeless game.
It's not what I asked. What's a better game? Tetris or Contra?
Oh, Contra, come on now.
There you go. Tetris or Tecmo Super Bowl?
Ooh, I got to go with Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Tetris is all reliable.
That's the other thing that shocked me is not having Tecmo Super Bowl or Tecmo Bowl in the top 10.
Yeah.
Number 5, Super Mario Brothers, of course.
What do you say?
Nothing to say there.
Number 4, Punch-Out.
I love this game, but I'm sorry, Tecmo Bowl or Super Bowl is way better.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to them.
Punch-Out is more iconic as a Nintendo game, and
here's the funny thing with these brackets too. It's like, do you go with your favorites when you vote? Do you go with what you think is the best?
Which is why I try to not like.
I think people went with what they think is the best more. Well, then again, with Punch-Out,
I think it's favorite. I think it's like pure nostalgia. It's like, oh, when you think NES, Punch-Out is one of those classic. You think of the soundtrack. You think of all the little memes from Punch-Out. I mean, we've talked about it. It's a boxing game, but it's really a puzzle. Like, it's kind of
it's a memorization reaction game thingy.
And I love the shit out of Punch-Out.
I love it.
I feel like that should have been in the 10 spot. Once again, I would have taken Tetris out, put Tecmo Super Bowl in there. But either way,
so mad about Castlevania.
You know I'm right though. Am I wrong?
I say the games that are there deserve to be there.
I would take.
And you could swap out a lot of other games.
I would take out Tetris and DuckTales and put one of the Castlevanias in Tecmo Super Bowl, and I'd be fine.
I would be fine with that too.
Yeah. Number 3. This is one that shocks the absolute shit out of me more than anything else. TMNT 2, the arcade game. I love the arcade game. And yes, it was a very good port. But do you think it's number 3 of the best NES game of all time?
No. But one thing I've learned in my days on social media, first off, like the general retro gaming community, I mean, there's a lot of us 90s babies in there, but it is dominated by 80s babies.
By Turtles love?
And 80s people, they love them some Turtles. Like, if you can tell from my solo reviews, I'm not much of a draw. But you know what's one of the ones that got a lot of the most views the quickest? My review of goddamn Turtles on the Game Boy. People see Turtles, they flock to it.
And I get it. And like I said, it's a good. I didn't put it on this bracket, but I would put Tournament Fighter over this. That's the best fighting game on the NES.
Well, easily the best fighting game in the NES. But I mean, I get the flaws of Tournament Fighter. But I mean, if you're going to put a Turtles game on there, I would say it should be the arcade game port.
Yeah, because the other Turtles game,
like the first one, one's bullshit, and the third one is really good, but it's just.
So for me personally, that Tetris and DuckTales, I would swap out with some other games. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. I think even the top 15, you could swap a lot of games in and out, and you'd be perfectly fine.
Yeah, true.
Except for 15. What the fuck?
Yeah, 15's Metal Gear, and that makes no sense. But
what?
either way.
I don't know how that happened.
1 and 2 are...
These are the games that you'd expect.
Yeah, you will never... In later systems, there's a hell of a lot more wider gap of what people think. But in this, whether it's this order or not, you got 2 Legend of Zelda, 1 Super Mario Brothers 3.
And these games for total votes, meaning that these got clicked on, they beat even the number 3 by over 130 votes.
Yes.
Like, these are the ones that everyone just click. And how do you blame?
When it comes to ones I prefer, it's probably not either one. If I were to say the best game for me personally, man. I feel more satisfied when I beat Legend of Zelda, but I think Super Mario Bros. 3 is a more complete game and has more shit.
See, I think the later levels of Mario 3 are more satisfying to beat than anything in Zelda. Because the most satisfying part of Zelda is actually figuring shit out.
Well, also, there's something so like every time you get that Triforce, like the little jump that Mario does, it's cool. But also, the issue I have with Mario is by the end, like, you have all those specials saved up. Not that it's not hard, and some of those platforms are fucking ridiculous. But I don't know. It's like the journey of Zelda feels more like it feels more complete, and because it's the first game of the series,
you're finishing a story. Whereas Mario, it's like, oh, thank God I beat that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like I can't wait to get done this level because it's so annoying and or whatever. Whereas Zelda, like, you're enjoying all the moments leading up, and the boss is like, oh shit, how do I beat this one? How do I beat it? Right. Whereas at the end of the day, Super Mario, it's how do I beat it? Oh, I jump on
dodge
jump.
Dodge jump. Yeah.
So either way, I'm not taking anything away from either one. I think I actually voted for Super Mario Bros. 3, but my heart was torn. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda.
See, I was a little dick shit with this because I knew this would draw numbers. I know it was going to draw this kind of numbers. But I knew it was going to draw numbers, so I just did my bracket for games that I just liked playing right now.
And Jim, what was your number 1 again?
My number 1 was Tecmo Bowl, which God knows where that fell.
Let's see where that is, Jim.
I didn't even go to Super Bowl. I went with Tecmo Bowl.
That's number 47.
And my number 2 is Gradius.
And that is...
even further. Or maybe not.
That is up.
Beat
That's
Life Force.
28.
All right.
So Gradius, I mean, if you take Contra out of the talk...
Well, Gradius is a classic shmup.
Yeah.
I'm in a shooter mood like that right now.
It's one of those deals where Tecmo Bowl... I mean, Jim's just wrong. I get it. The thing is, Tecmo Super Bowl is too fast for him. That's his number 1 argument.
And like, if I took this list seriously, like, my number 1 would probably be Mario 3.
Yeah. But here's the deal. It is a preference thing, but, I mean, literally, Super Bowl improves on every aspect.
I know Super Bowl improves on every
But you still get mad because I whooped your ass when we were playing.
You didn't whip shit.
I think I saw the footage.
You beat me, but you didn't whip.
You were so mad that I actually... outran you with the, and I wasn't even Bo Jackson. I was just fucking you up, running up the field. So, with all that being said,
thank you all for voting. Anyone who's ever voted on these brackets, if they never come back, but we might have a plan of trying to bring them back.
So we've been kind of kicking around the idea of doing a Patreon,
and we've been asked for a while in comments and shit. Like, hey, do you guys have a Patreon?
So we hate the idea of, we don't ever want to have to, hey, ask you guys for money. You know, we do this for fun. We cover our website's expenses and whatever, and we have a huge thing of games. But at the end of the day, especially with these brackets, the only way we're going to do it is if we pay for a monthly thing.
And just equipment-wise. Like, tonight, our broken light stand fell over and nearly broke our lighting rig that we have.
Our light thing broke. Our tripod for our camera is held on by fucking pins and needles. So at the end of the day, it was all right. We talked about we're going to do.
We lost
Patreon.
our bracket site, so
yeah. So we want to keep bringing you guys brackets because we feel like that's so far been the best interaction outside of YouTube as far as getting you guys involved and stuff. And we have other ideas for the site. You know, I've been getting more and more reviews out there. I want to keep pumping them up. But at the end of the day, we want to bring you guys more content and, you know, just have an excuse. You know, if you guys are willing to donate at any level, that's great. I think right now we're only considering really a structure of like a $1, a $2, and a $5. Nothing extreme.
Yeah.
We'll lay out what all the give back is. And, you know, if you really appreciate us, you want to donate, we can't say how much we would appreciate it. And if you don't, we understand.
Right, exactly. And I mean, we may even have the Patreon up by the time this podcast goes up. I don't know. But
it's on him.
Okay, I can do that. That's fine.
The other thing is, because we have some other interesting ideas I don't want to reveal yet, but we've been actively looking to become an LLC because a lot of things we're looking at doing, it wouldn't make sense to not have us as an LLC, so we want to try and cover a cost for that. And this, and I hate talking about money and shit like that for this. But
yeah, because we're not like obviously full-time YouTubers. God knows what our numbers, but just in general, like it's not like we're hurting or anything like that. But it's just the kind of thing where it's like people have asked, so we figure if people want to help, why not?
Yeah, and yeah, if you once again, if you do, if you don't, we'll always have them in the videos. I'll be honest. This may be one of the only, if not only, videos where we really talk that much about the Patreon. We might tweet it out. We might YouTube it.
It'll probably be just a crawl at the end of the videos. We'll have a new crawl where it'll be like, and if you want Patreon, blah, blah,
yeah, because I don't like doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no reason to.
So, you know, with all that being said, thank you guys, as always, for listening. We know this was a little bit longer, but we haven't gotten together in a while.
Yeah.
So you know our schedule. Jim will be tweeting out a little more often about when you can expect us, the first couple Resident Evil reviews. I'm going to be getting, Jim will get his pinball things. I'm going to be getting the latest segments from older podcasts, this one. And also, I have a lot of gameplay footage of me playing through, some commentary, some not. I just want to get on YouTube just to be able to share it with you guys. It's not meant for anything else other than, it's free gameplay footage.
Yeah,
So, other than that, Jim, what do you think of this heady topper?
Douchebag essay aside, it's pretty goddamn good.
It's good.
I don't know if it's necessary. See, here's the thing. I can't think of anything wrong with it, especially like after the first couple sips, like the impact of like the pininess went away.
Yeah.
The more you drank. Like when you first drank, you're just like, holy shit, tree bark.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it's like anything else, and the alcohol kicks in. So, but no, very enjoyable beer to drink. Very good. I can't say it's one that I'm going to be like, oh my god, I don't have heady topper.
Yeah, this is one that if it's available,
I'll definitely get it.
Reasonably priced, I'll get it.
And it wasn't even that expensive. Like the 4-pack was maybe $12, $15, something like that.
That's nothing.
Yeah.
I will never seek it out. I'll put it that way. Like,
okay.
If Weiss or one of our bottle shops has it, I'll go. Okay, I'll grab it.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh man, 20 miles away, you can get. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
It's good. It almost like kind of reminds me of. Yeah, to me, it's on the same line as like a Weyerbacher. It's really good. I don't know if the douchebagginess really killed it for me. You know how I can hold my grudges with that shit.
Well, you're talking to the Stone Brewing guy, right?
Yeah. So,
don't you dare sue my Keystone.
So, guys, if you ever have any comments, any questions, anything you want us to talk about, any of these podcasts, or address in general, you know, just shoot us an email, send us Twitter, YouTube, every avenue you possibly can.
Yep, Twitter, @AbeerandAGame, Facebook and Instagram, DrinkABeerandPlayAGame. Email, DrinkABeerandPlayAGame@gmail.com.
And if you're ever lost, most times you can hashtag DBPG.
You'll find us.
Well, you'll find us one way or another.
Or leave a comment on YouTube. We're available.
So other than that, guys,
Cheers.
Cheers.